Okay, so the recording is on. We can
you.
always edit it in a minute. And just to set the scene for people who are watching, I'm Suzanne Henwood, you're Cheryl Bowie. We are both absolutely experienced coaches. We both use mBIT coaching. And you have kindly agreed to allow me to coach you on a real issue in a recorded way, so that people who are still in their early days of mBIT can just see one way of coaching, because of course there is no one right way to coach, because as mBIT coaching we have no idea where it's going to go. So there's no plan as such, other than to have just a beautiful session and see where it goes. So yeah, hopefully that just sets the scene for people listening in to us. And we're just going to get on with it as if they weren't listening in and we were just on our own.
Indeed.
Okay, lovely. So let me know, where are we starting today? What's going to be really useful for you? What would you like to discuss, explore, learn about?
Cool. So as you know, 2019 was a bit of a ripper of a year for me, and what I noticed was my nervous system and just general overthinking and worry and a bit of anxiety was starting to build. And I guess I'm a little bit frustrated because I've got all the tools in my toolkit and I'm actively using them, but I'm still finding myself mentally very busy.
Yeah.
And it is affecting my sleep. It is affecting probably my energy. And as a result of some of the stress from last year, I had a really big sinus infection in probably about March, April of last year. And it feels like ever since then, I've just had an ongoing issue with my sinuses, which is actually getting to the point of really getting me down.
Okay, so obviously, you know, we're not going to cover medical stuff as such, but you've had that checked out. There's nothing that you need to be aware of or doing that you're not already doing?
I've had it, some of it, yes, I had it checked out at the time that I was unwell. Because it kind of goes up and down, I'm thinking that I need to do a few extra things, one of which is a session. And then if I don't get any reprieve in another kind of a month to 6 weeks, I'm going to go and see the doctor and maybe go and see an ENT.
Okay, lovely. So yeah, always kind of, you know, that medical safety check, especially if there's new coaches listening, that needs to be done in parallel outside the session. Okay, awesome. So kind of a stupid question really, but what do you want? What's your desired outcome from this session?
Yeah, I'd like to think that I'm back on the pathway to getting my energy back to what I'm used to operating on, and just attending to the sleep and the overthinking and the kind of a heightened sense of stimulation that I feel in my body.
And so the stimulation is wider than just the head overthinking. What other overstimulation are you aware of?
Good question. It does predominantly sit in the head area because obviously the sinuses are part of that, but I do feel it in my heart as well. Like I do feel there's a kind of this, I wouldn't say fluttering, but there's definitely some energy there that feels like it's rapid at times. It's not there all the time, but I just feel the sense of heightened kind of stimulation.
Okay, so another cheeky question. You're skilled. What stops you just getting that clarity, getting that energy back already? Because I'm guessing you've tried lots of different approaches. So what really stops you?
I don't know. I feel stuck. So all of the usual kind of practices that I have are just not working. So maybe there's a bit of frustration that kind of gets in the way in terms of, okay, old tools no longer serving. I don't know. There's just something that's keeping me from detaching from that, particularly the overthinking stuff.
Something keeping you from detaching.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit more about that? What are you keeping hold of, and what is this detachment that needs to happen?
I'm keeping hold of safety of my children, and so some of the media issues have meant that I don't need to be in that space as much anymore. But it's like cognitively I know that, but the body was almost trying to catch up. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the ever-present danger, or the stuff that was actually really worrying me and consuming me, has settled, but there's this kind of delay factor, and there's also this bit of a niggle that actually, you know, has it really gone? Will it come back? So that's probably some of the background anxiety that's kind of just needling away.
Yeah. Okay. And the detached, so that you have not yet detached from, is that it's that niggle, that safety issue that is what you want to detach from?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always on the precipice of holding on to the next thing that's going to happen, because what's been going on in my life has come in waves and chapters. It's actually, are we really going to get to a calm state, or am I just waiting for the next kind of flare up of something to manage, something to deal with, in terms of, it's almost like when you're in a crisis response situation. And I almost feel like I've habitualized crisis response for 12 months, and that's become the new norm a little bit.
Yeah. When you first set that off, was that an appropriate response? Did it do you a favor to be in that? Yeah.
Yeah, I needed to do that.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, lovely. So thanking your beautiful body for keeping you safe when there was a crisis going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's just spend a moment bringing ourselves into balance and coherence. How do you like to do that? Do you want to just sit quietly and do it yourself for 2 minutes? You don't need me to count you or anything?
Yeah, no, I'll close my eyes and I'll do it, and I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Lovely.
Okay.
Fab. And just because there was a safety issue, just know that, you know, tell your body it's completely safe. Feel whatever you're sat on, that at any point you can send that reassurance again, flooding over your body, that it is safe to explore whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we're not agreeing to anything, right? So your body's not being pushed into making any actions. It will be absolutely
nice.
Lovely. I don't know if that was plain at your end or my end, but
my end.
Your end. How beautifully timed that, you know.
The metaphor.
Absolutely. We might come back to that later in terms of that all flying away easily. And so just kind of breathing into, we'll go into the heart area.
Mm-hmm.
Just ever so gently, taking a moment to, you know, just really communicate with and connect with your heart. If it had a voice, what would it be saying was truly important about where you are now and where you want to go to in the future?
It would say that you've been kind, that you have really felt into this and felt the impacts, and been, you know, and felt the hurt as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not your hurt anymore. So that's okay to let that go.
Yeah. Has it let it go, or is it still holding that hurt a little bit?
First emotion that comes up when you say that is probably the fleeting emotion is anger.
Okay.
And then dismay. So it's more in that dismay, disgust, and sadness, I think. Yeah, sad for the parties involved. Yeah.
And often, you know, we talk about an emotion, but there's usually a little cocktail of emotions going on. It's rarely one discrete emotion. So, you know, it's okay to feel those, and feel free, even as we're talking, to just allow them to arise and feel them, name them. You've named them beautifully, knowing that by doing that, they will pass like the airplane did in, 60, 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So just, thanking your heart really that it does feel those emotions, that it can name those emotions, beautiful emotional intelligence. And above and beyond all of those, and maybe holding beneath those emotions, what is it that your heart truly desires moving forward?
Lightness.
Nice. Anything else?
Well, the reason I came up with lightness is I was feeling that there's a sense of heaviness in my heart space. So the feeling of weight in that heart space is definitely a strong sense.
And is that heaviness still there, or is it a past thing? You know, you talked earlier about the energy in your heart as one of those feeling places. Is that still present here and now, or is it a memory of that heaviness that you're relating to?
No, it's present.
Present.
Yeah.
Okay. So just if you can feel into that heaviness, what does that heaviness want to tell you, inform you, teach you?
That it's okay to grieve.
Okay.
And it's okay to be sad.
Mm-hmm. Is that new message to you, or?
Yeah, probably new in its expression.
Okay. Okay. So let it know you've deeply heard that, because grief and sadness is maybe not something that is just going to, you know, go away in a moment. Grief takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And it might go on way after this session.
Yeah.
So, you know, letting the heart know that it can express that and let you know to feel that that's okay. Is that what that heaviness is? Is it grief and sadness, or is there anything else kind of, you know, holding on to it, attaching it to weigh that down?
Probably resentment.
Okay. And you don't need to say who, but I'm guessing that's related to somebody or some people.
Yeah.
You know, and we know heart is deeply about connection with others.
Yeah.
So what does your heart want to say about that resentment in relationship to somebody else? Is it time to let that go, let it fly away, or is there something you haven't learned from that yet that's why it's holding on to it?
It's a lovely way of putting it. I mean, you know, cognitively, I know that, you know, resentment is only really hurting oneself. So, you know, cognitively, I can get that. But the feeling of it is that I still feel very aggrieved.
Okay. So thank you, Head, for reminding us. And we will absolutely come and speak to you soon. But
it's good that it stayed out for that long.
It's good, eh? It's good. I'm impressed. So just kind of breathe back into your heart space again. And, you know, this is your heart's time to speak. And this is your heart's time to kind of speak for you, to show you deep appreciation and value and gratitude, because it's had a rough 12 months and possibly more than 12 months. And, you know, maybe it has absolutely every right to feel aggrieved and resentment.
Oh, it sure does.
So can I go controversial?
Yeah, totally. It wouldn't be you if you didn't.
Well, I know. I do kind of jokingly say I'm, you know, the creator of provocative but how long do you want to carry on feeling that resentment for?
Good question. Not particularly long. I'd like to be free of it. Absolutely.
So when specific would you like to be free of it?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of holding it till tomorrow?
I don't know. I suppose I selected tomorrow because it was gave the time for the body to kind of process.
Oh, okay, nice. So just check back in with heart, because we know about that integration with gut can take 24, 36 hours. But usually that's the body and the gut that holds that for that long. When would the heart be ready to let go of it so that it begins that process of integrated freeing, or whatever it is, lightness that comes out of this?
When you say that, rather than, I guess I get stuck on the when bit and I ask my own coaching question and go, what would you need in order to let it go? You know,
Yeah.
what does it need?
Well, if that's a question that's useful, absolutely ask. Check that you're at heart level though. So what does your heart need? We're not at gut yet. We're not at head yet. What does your heart need just to be willing, ready, able to take that first step so that it can integrate across the body?
What's coming up for me is a conversation with my children.
Okay. And is that a realistic thing that, you know, can happen?
Yeah, I think so. I think I need to be in the right space and create the right environment for those conversations, and I'm thinking they need to be separate rather than collectively together.
Okay. So is tomorrow realistic?
Possibly not, then no. Definitely not.
Okay.
I'm away tomorrow, so no.
Okay. So let's scrap tomorrow as the point at which it will be a complete process.
Mm-hmm.
But it may well be that tomorrow, or even sooner if you choose to, might be your heart letting go of having made the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So is your heart ready to make the choice to let go of this resentment? Or is there something that it does want you to know before it's willing to let go of it? Is it holding on for a purpose?
It's holding on for a purpose to be, I guess, to feel the sense of being right, if I'm honest.
Okay, well, thank you for the honesty, heart. Okay, let's jump up to your head. Because I'm guessing that the head might be at least partly involved in that sense of needing to be right.
Definitely.
Okay, so what's the head's higher intention of being right?
Intention. Just need to think about this for a bit.
And I'm going to let you, because it was a head question.
Yeah.
Let your head go wild on that one.
I think it's about a sense of it not being me.
Say a bit more. What's not being you?
So a sense of a previous situation. So the person that I feel the resentment towards is, I'll put it out there, it's my ex-husband. So I think it's a sense of I wasn't making up a story about his treatment of me and his treatment of others, that actually all the chickens have come home to roost, and there's a sense of relief around actually it was as bad as his behaviour is as bad as I thought it was. In fact, it was way worse than I ever imagined, actually. So I was actually, the first thing I was shock when I first was dealing with some stuff. So it's definitely that sense of I wasn't going mad. I did make the right calls that I made at the time. So that kind of, not justification, it's not quite the right word, but it's kind of along those lines of actually, yeah, I did make the right calls.
And have you taken time out to acknowledge and thank your head for analysing, processing all that information as it came in and giving you that right answer, that right kind of analysis summary?
Well, I've certainly acknowledged myself and said, best life decision I ever made. So there's definitely been some acknowledgement.
But have you specifically acknowledged that beautiful analytic brain that took probably information from multiple sources to bring it all together so that you could make sense of it?
No, not in the way you were describing.
Okay. It's an invitation. In terms of if you just quietly kind of said to your head, you know what, you did a good job. You picked up all of those bits, you analysed it, evaluated it, and actually gave me quite a correct story, because often the head brain story isn't spot on.
Well, I think the gut had a bit to do with that as well, actually. A lot to do with it. I could feel the gut go, excuse me.
I did that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you take credit for that.
No, and we hear that gut, and we will come down and acknowledge the gut, because I'm betting there's bits in all, because we started this at heart level, right? So this was definitely a multi-organ journey you were on. But right now, for the bit the head did do, which would have been analysis and evaluation, just thank it. Nice. And I don't know what the story has been in the past, and I certainly don't want you going too much there thinking about it. What I'd love you to do is to give me some key words for the story you're going to write moving forwards.
That's nice. That's easy to do. So peace, enthusiasm, light, effervescence.
Oh, lovely one. Don't know if I can spell it, but I'll know what I mean in the
notes. Laughter, fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just nice. Walking more lightly in life, really.
Nice. And your head's willing to create that story and start the new chapter?
Absolutely. Well, it was there. I guess that's also part of the frustration, is it was there before all this happened. I was absolutely in that space, and so it's trying to reclaim back to that sense of self before 12 months ago.
Nice. So, yeah, whatever you need to do in your head to say you recognize that and you're ready to press that start button again, and let it begin to plan the how you're going to do that. Let it begin to come up with some of the options, because there will be different ways of doing it. Does anything immediately spring to mind as, oh, this was definitely on the cards and I put a stop to it and it's got to be back there with a priority?
I think part of what just popped up for me, I think part of the implication of the event that went down is that I've now got my children full time, and so part of the challenge, I think, for the remainder of the year is the additional intellectual load that I think is the bit of the tail swing that I'm struggling to kind of get my head around.
Yeah,
is actually just always being on. So after 14 years of 50-50 co-parenting, it's been quite the adjustment to full-time parenting, which sounds terrible for those who are all full-time parents.
It does not sound terrible in any way, shape or form.
So, and I'm very aware about the grief/change process, but it's just this, it feels a little bit relentless, and being their sole parent that they're interacting with, and I mean, they have a stepfather as well, step parent, but at the moment they've only got one step parent and one mother who is leading the charge and kind of their key people in their world. And so the pressure has definitely been on both of us, both my partner and I, in terms of actually, well, I'm keenly aware of it. I haven't had a conversation with him about how keenly aware he is about it, but he's doing a great job.
Yeah. So a couple of keywords I just want to reflect back to you, not really even ask a question about, but leading the charge and pressure. I don't know if you were aware you said those words. At a head level, what would the head like to create that might be a more resourceful set of words than leading the charge, which still makes it kind of sound like a fight, and pressure, particularly because one of the first things you said you wanted out of this was to get rid of the overstimulation, and they may be linked. So what story, what plan does the head need to know is part of whatever we come out with as an action plan at the end of this?
It's funny because what I'm thinking about is this has been an age-old challenge for me, and so one of the solutions for solving my mothering worries and responsibilities was the shared custody.
Yeah.
That actually allowed me the freedom that I would actually intellectually be able to go, right, I'm not on, and I actually managed to do the beautiful healthy detachment really well, and I don't seem to be able to do that when I've got the 24/7 obligation and care and concern and worry for where they're at and their own emotional well-being. So, for me, it's not even business as usual because of the impact on them. So, yeah.
So I'm tempted to come back to that one. I think it's a key issue to explore a bit more, because it's a black or white. It's either two parents or it's me doing everything. And I suspect there is some grey area. But before we go there, because that's kind of going into solve mode, I'm aware that the gut wanted to speak earlier, and we kind of said, in a minute. So before we go into allowing your head to come up with solutions, let's just make sure we bring your gut into this frame. So drop your attention deep into your gut, right into that core you, who you really are in whatever context, whether that's you as a mum or you as a partner or you in business, because you're juggling all of those roles. So that core you that transcends all of those, what does she deeply need moving forward?
A bit more space.
Mm-hmm.
And a little less pace.
Mm-hmm.
And just some time out. So I had a week off last week with my partner, just the two of us up north, and that allowed me some of the detachment that I was talking about, and just not to actually be, as I was very understimulated. It was good. It was good for my soul.
Beautiful. So just kind of savor that feeling of that last week at its best, when you had the space, you had the peace, maybe some of those other things you wanted, the lightness.
Water, out on the boat, biking, all the things I love to do.
Beautiful.
Sleeping.
So lots of activity and sleep and peace. Effervescence was a beautiful word you used. You may be already beginning to create these, but in that week. So if you just really reattach to those feelings in that week, what would the gut need to do to be able to bring that home and into a more busy week where you are solo parent and keeping a, busy job and being a loyal partner? And
what was the question? What do I need to do? What does the gut need?
What does the gut need to do or direct? Because obviously the gut will work with the rest of the body, but what does either the gut or the body, whichever way you want to translate that, need in order that you can bring that beautifulness home to begin the journey of having that all full time?
I just think I need to create mini versions of that somehow.
Lovely. Okay, so let's just check back in with heart. Is this the way we're heading? Because I need to create mini versions of that. We could go back to the head and work out how you can do that and how you can have that every day at home and all of that. But let's just check in with the heart before we do. Is this giving the heart what it truly wants?
Well, when I think back to last week, absolutely, that gave the heart exactly what it needed.
Beautiful. So let's go back up to head then straight away. Acknowledging the gut for what it has done, because clearly it felt it was part of this, and I'm sure it was right. It was part of that the head was taking glory for. Are the head and gut happy to hold hands and do this together?
And when you say the this being the creating the micro versions of
that being one of it, but really about creating this different way of being, I guess, is what I meant by this. That might be much wider than just creating little mini versions. That's just one example of how you're going to do it. There may be much wider implications of this. But at the moment, the gut's been doing it. The head maybe took a little bit of credit for it. Are they happy to work together and move in the same direction?
I think they did. This is the thing. I think when that conversation was going on, I guess that was talking historically about leaving my marriage. So that's, they were definitely, that was a whole body yes decision. I never negotiated with myself at all. So yeah, that was probably one of the few examples of my life where I can feel like there was huge alignment and it just got on.
Yeah. And when you were doing that, how were they communicating with each other? Was it through meditation? Was it conscious, or were they just unconsciously, competently?
It started with the gut, I have to say. The gut was kind of giving interesting signals about the need to get back to work, about the need to keep my networks alive. I'm quite biased to action, so the gut was stimulating a lot of that drive to kind of do stuff that kept me safe longer term. So I would say the gut led the charge.
Beautiful. And that taking action is really key, especially if there's a change involved. So again, amazing gut function going on, and it kept you safe.
But the thing is, what happens, I think, with the overstimulation is when I get the biased action going too much the other way. So the pendulum swung a bit in terms of in the head and the gut space.
Okay. So are they ready to work out a new way or a new swing or a new boundary to that swing?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome. Anything else the gut wants to tell you about who you are being moving forward?
No, other than I think I can feel proud of the way I've conducted myself through this process. It's been extraordinarily difficult. But that's probably the bit I want to check out with the kids in terms of just allowing me to move forward. Getting their guidance and insight in terms of what that looks like for them would be quite useful.
Nice. And not forgetting yourself in that. So it's about them and you and your partner. Yeah, so that whatever you co-create together, it does genuinely meet all your needs, not just theirs, because often children might have a very different set of needs to what the parents have. Yes,
there is a bit of that goes on.
Bless them.
Which is why Wellington's rather handy when I go traveling, because it kind of gives me again that, so that's that other way of getting that spaciousness and the pace back, because I only have to worry about me for 2 or 3 days.
Yep. Okay. And you're comfortable that they are safe when you're away. You can go away and do that kind of your time, your space.
Yeah. I mean, I get a bit of moaning from my daughter because she doesn't love it, but too bad. I've got to pay the bills.
Yeah, there is some reality in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just check in at heart level. Is there anything else we need to consider around the children as we begin to then go, so what would be those actions to create those little mini versions of escape time, although you didn't use the word escape overtly, but time out time? Just check in with the kids, maybe one at a time.
And in that check-in, there's something around some boundaries and just asserting some of my needs.
Yep.
Particularly with my daughter, who's quite demanding of me, without offending. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. So in that beautiful heart of compassion, what is your heart, and particularly your heart relation to your gut connection with her at an identity level? What do your heart and gut need to make sure that her needs are met as well moving forward, however demanding they are, that she will feel that she's been heard and needs met and your needs have been met?
Well, I think engaging in a conversation about what are our needs, what are our expectations.
She's able to do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
She's pretty mature for her age, 17.
Yep.
17 and a half.
Yep.
And we've probably just been bumbling along and making it up as we go along, and it might be a good way to reset some boundaries.
Beautiful way as well. I mean, talk about modelling for her, that you never know where that might come in useful for her down the line as she faces challenges herself, and she will think back to how you handled that. And
well, she's really brave. Like, she does front into those things, and she's quite good at having courageous conversations, and she's very good at setting boundaries herself.
Yep.
But she's also my most demanding child of my time, and it's hard because her love language is quality time. So
okay, so how going forward can you do both her quality time and your time out?
Well, I think that's the co-creation conversation with her, and say, look, this has been, and she does get it, because she says every now and again, you and I'll pay for you and Israel to go out. You guys go out for your anniversary. I'll contribute. There's a thank you for all you've done this year. So she's very aware.
Yeah, beautiful.
So it's just when she really needs me, it's all on, and emotionally she's really needed me.
Yep. Okay. So acknowledging her, she's part of you, you love her to bits, finding that place to hold her in your heart, so that when she does genuinely need you, you can make that connection easily and smoothly with her, finding time to be with her in her love language, but not allowing her to dominate that 24/7.
Because she would use it like a tap.
So maybe there's your answer in terms of metaphorically, tap. Create her a little tap in your heart that is linked to an eternal supply that is never going to run out of love, but there is a control on a timing level of when you turn it on and off in terms of action orientated love.
That would make a huge difference. Yeah.
So just imagine in your heart where that tap would be. Describe the tap to me. Is it a modern tap, an old-fashioned tap? Has it got knobbly bits on the end, or is it a lift-up tap?
No, it's an outside tap.
Outside.
A brass outside tap.
Beautiful. And anything else significant you're seeing? Is it, is it well maintained? Is it attached to a hose?
No, it's attached to my heart directly.
Directly to your heart. Beautiful. What color is? There's just the brass tap in your heart. Any other colors significant?
No, other than the red of the heart.
Beautiful. And anything else about that tap? Like, how easy is it to turn? How easy is it to turn off?
Neither hard nor easy.
No,
it makes sense.
And would that level of ease of flow be just right for what you need it to be able to do when she calls on you for that, quality time?
Well, it's certainly not, when you turn it on, it's not gushing everywhere. It's a steady, lovely stream.
Beautiful.
Coming out.
Beautiful. And what comes out? Is it?
Well, I was thinking water, but but yeah, it's got a transparent kind of gooey sense to it.
Beautiful.
Like a lava flow.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So we might come back to that. That's a really useful metaphor, but I just want to check before we do that we've got all three brains in line now with what the deeper issue is and what this, So we seem to have switched a little bit to focus on your daughter. Is that the nub of the issue that was underlining everything, or this need for you to take time out to create? Let me just get the list if I can find it quickly. Lightness, peace, enthusiasm, effervescence, laughter, fun, walking lightly in life. Does that tap solve that on a much wider basis than just your daughter?
Yes, I think so, because I think it equally applies to my son. So he's not demanding, but he's worrying in another way.
Okay. So do you need other taps, or can that tap be multifunctional?
I think it can be multifunctional.
Okay, beautiful. So you know just how to kind of connect with whoever or whatever needs that tap at that moment.
It's actually a beautiful metaphor for my work as well, actually, and for the other people, like with the stuff that's been gone down, I've had to kind of get involved and support another person, and so actually, and now I'm supporting that person's mum, and so actually it's a good metaphor for boundaries, and when I can manage it beautifully in my work, like I seem to be able to be psychically clean in my work, but when my resilience is lower, then obviously that it can have a bit more of an impact. But I seem to have this way of being able to have a clean process, but with personal stuff it's just super challenging.
Okay, so just drop back into gut and just check in with your gut about what it needs in relation to this metaphor for you, your identity, your safety, your flourishing.
Just to pull back a bit, pull back a lot, actually.
Yep. And is having control of that tap met? Like, does that meet the need to pull back? can you almost use that tap as one of the multiple meanings for yourself?
Well, I think as a metaphor, it's very powerful as a visual anchor to go, actually, is the tap flowing too fast at the moment? Has it been flowing for too long? And does it need to be actually, either turned off or back to a dribble or a more steady stream or whatever it needs to be? But that checking in with the tap would be actually really useful.
Beautiful. And how does that work on a real basis in terms of, is there a little meter? Is there a little flow rate thing above it? Is there a scale above it?
No, it was more of a visual in terms of actually what's the felt sense in my body about where I'm at. So if the stimulation, so getting data from my body around my stimulation levels, and actually that's where the rating kind of system might come in terms of, oh gosh, I feel like I'm at a 10 out of 10 or I'm a 6 out of 10, and then using the tap to moderate.
Beautiful. So there's a check-in system that involves your whole body before you change how open or closed the tap is.
Correct.
Beautiful. Thank you, gut, because that's an important step to add in. Anything else that the gut wants to know is in place, whether it's about protecting you or who you are or how you're going to use this?
No, I think the gut's good.
Awesome. So let's just check up at head, because we were going to come up to the head for a nice plan about creating these mini versions of your holiday and your time out. Where's your head at the moment in relation to what your heart and gut have just beautifully done together?
Well, I still think there's merit in some of the planning, the stuff that I was thinking about, because that can help almost. It's all very well to actually visualize the tap turning off, but I feel like the restorative activities that the head's thinking of actually help that make that really possible and tangible.
So is that part of the check-in? We did a body check-in. Is there also a head check-in at that point? And if there is, what is it the head would want to make sure had been heard before you change that tap?
I think the head needs to ask the head the question, do I need to dial back?
Oh, okay. So are you happy giving the head that control?
Well, I think the body's already giving me signals.
Okay.
I just think it's a double check in terms of actually keeping myself honest.
And going back to earlier, we thank the head for having that analytic and evaluative role. So in a way, you don't want to put kind of words into the story, but it's almost like you're saying it's already good at that. We know it can do that really well. So what you're asking it to do is to take those body signals, analyze them and evaluate them, and then decide from that what to do with the tap. How does that feel as you try that on?
It's not, do I need to dial back? It's actually, what do you need? It's actually more in the what needs to happen.
Okay.
So I think I know at that point that there needs to be some kind of dialing back. The body's already given me away, right? Overstimulated, I'm overthinking. It's basically affirmative. You need to dial back, but it's actually the kind of dial back. What does that look like? Okay. Is the dial back, for example, checking on that, is the dial back actually you need to do a longer meditation? Is the dial back you need to do some gardening?
Okay.
Is the dial, sometimes it might be a dial up to dial back. Is it actually going and having meaningful listening conversation with my daughter so that she feels heard, so that I can then actually claim some stuff back rather than half-assing it, which almost makes them more demanding potentially.
Beautiful. So just check in with gut. Is it happy that is what the head's doing with the information that's coming up from the body?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's actually all of them kind of coming into play at that point.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Okay, lovely. Just to double check in with you. You that is either sat deep in that gut or indeed is even sat outside of you listening to all of this and watching all of this. Are you happy with that as the process?
I'm definitely keen to play with it and experiment with it. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Because it's quite a different way of you know, you couldn't make that up.
I couldn't have made it up, right?
No.
And interesting, right at the beginning, you said, you know, you tried your processes and they weren't working anymore. You were feeling stuck. So the usual processes were not working was your kind of starting point. So this is not your usual process, right? So it might just be enough to get you unstuck.
That's
Fantastic.
Right.
So go back to that hot space and let's just take this round. And I'm curious, actually, before we go completely into taking that round, just feel into your sinuses. With that whole metaphor of being able to turn a tap on and off, to be able to change the flow, and this water that comes out is not quite water, it's kind of a bit gooey and it's got some depth and texture to it. As you feel into your sinuses with that whole metaphor, are your sinuses in any way connected to this? Is there any message coming from your sinus? Anything your sinus wants to say?
No, my body's kind of, I feel a relaxant through my body.
Okay.
But I also sense that it's quite, pardon the word, lubricating. So the whole sense of the sinuses actually getting a coolant in there
Nice.
is a nice feeling.
Yep, beautiful. And with this multifunctional tap, it might be that if you had a stimulation from the sinus at any point, you could have the function being the sinus at that moment to work with that and turn it up, turn it down, regulate it, cool it.
Well, even thinking about the tap being here and just, you know, going all around here and then having a tap at the heart, going all around the heart, and maybe even you end up having a tap at the gut too, because as you know, I've got Crohn's disease, so if I'm having any gut, and it doesn't happen very often, but if I am, I could have my tap for my gut to actually heal and bathe that part of my body.
Awesome. So interesting that you've talked about a head tap, a heart tap, and a gut tap. Beautiful, eh? So just do a check-in. Does the body need a tap as well?
Maybe. I mean, when you say that, I visualize a tap above my head encasing all of my body.
Nice. Beautiful.
And there is something about the nervous system being in the play here, definitely.
Yeah, I could hear that in lots of bits that you've and
all very body aware.
All of that body signal has got to involve nerve.
Yeah, that's right.
In terms of it taking back.
And so that is what I'm keenly aware of, is the overstimulation in my nervous system going.
Okay. So it would be really useful then to have a tap that does manage that as well, that could link to your breathing or, you know, whatever tools and practices you use.
Yeah, I've got a visualization that actually looks at, it has a flow aspect to it that will work really well.
Beautiful. So just one final check-in with that wider body, right out to the skin surface, maybe even beyond it. Is there anything it wants to alert you to that we've not included that would be useful to include for this shift?
I think what's just coming up for me now is around the with the metaphor of the tap, is actually it's the dial down and dial up for how much I'm giving out, but it's actually also the dial up in terms of the self-healing piece.
Nice.
So I'm seeing the tap being multifunctional in that way, so that actually it could be I need to turn the tap off for others, but I actually need to open it up for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And you know, with this brass tap, are they all brass taps? Are they all outside brass taps, or have they all got their own unique features?
The one at the heart, the one at the head's a different shape to the one at the heart, and I haven't really thought too much about the other ones, other than the one above the head is a bigger one.
Beautiful.
Because it needs to have more water, more flow over the whole of the body.
So big one on top. Your heart one is the brass one.
Yeah, the other one, the head one's a brass one, but it's got a kind of crooked spout like that.
Yep.
Whereas the heart one's got a round, short, stubby spout that you put a hose on.
Yeah. And what about the one at the gut?
I think the gut's similar to the heart one.
Okay. Anyone, is there one in the pelvis? If you drop your attention deep down into your pelvis, nothing there that wants to communicate. Now we're going further than just head, heart, gut.
No, that's pretty quiet and content.
Good. Awesome. Okay. So just breathe back into that heart space. And if you want to close your eyes, feel free to close your eyes. And let's start with that beautiful heart tip. And whether or not you want to polish that brass, just check as you turn the top that you have complete and utter ease and flow and control for all of those multiple uses that it might be useful for, including your beautiful daughter, including your son, including your partner, your work. Know that as you go to reach for that tap, every time you'll be using it for the perfect reason. And knowing that as you turn that tap, that beautiful transparent lava flow, the gooey, watery lava flow, is just perfect. And maybe the color of that might change for different scenarios. I don't know. Maybe the texture of it might change. Certainly the rate of flow is going to change. And that you have complete control over that. And that you're going to control that compassionately because you are compassion. Maybe even this is a compassionate tap, allowing compassion to flow. And just you play with that picture. You don't need to talk out loud to me, but you play with that picture so that it's so detailed and clear. It's as if you could reach down into your heart and literally feel that tap in just the perfect place. And you might even just give a bit of appreciation that your beautiful heart brain came up with that. And some gratituding that you have that now moving forward. And just bring into that heart's mind all of those beautiful things that your heart wanted with lightness and effervescence, peace, laughter, fun, walking lightly in life. That all of those are available through that tap now. You just turn them on when you want them. Turn them off when you want less of them. Knowing that there's also that sense of being able to find space for you through that tap. And as you just allow that to pour out through your whole body, take it up into that beautiful head space. And ask your beautiful head to be even more creative with what you can do beyond what we've thought today. That over time, the function for that might grow and change. That maybe that creativity of coming up with options and possibilities can be turned up and down. In exactly the right way, in response to those beautiful signals coming up from the body and the nervous system. Making sense of just what your body needs in that moment, in whatever context it's in. Work, family, healthy. And as you're at that head area, just notice that beautiful big tap above you that can do whatever is needed for the whole body to settle all of your system, calming any stimulation when it needs to be calm, turning it up when you need that stimulation. But knowing that that's in beautiful communication with all of the other taps and that they will work in beautiful unity together, co-creating, collaborating, compassionately creativity, pushing your life in a new direction now as you let go of all of that last 12 months that you don't need to hold on to anymore. You can let go of it even maybe before you talk to the children, and that talking to the children is just putting a little more detail on the plan of how. And letting your attention, with that beautiful, compassionate creativity and co-communication, drop right into your gut now. Finding the courage to be truly you in this new season of life. Finding the courage to use those taps, not only for others, but also for yourself. Finding the courage to step out, to speak out. Do what's right for you. In a compassionate and creative way. And just checking in that each of those taps above you, in your head, in your heart, and in your gut are all left at exactly the right place for what you need today and this week. That maybe you set them in the first instance for having these conversations with the children. Then coming back to heart level, deeply, deeply appreciating yourself and all the beautiful work you've done with this for what you've set up moving forward. Appreciating each of those intelligences. And then just maybe asking your body, your heart, your gut, your head, if there's any last additional wisdom. Any new insight. Any new awarenessing that will help you to get this lightness in life that you wanted, the ease and the flow, the space, the connection, the effervescence. And just in your own time, breathing that round your body, and when you're ready, coming back into connection with me. How are you doing?
Good. That's lovely.
Any other wisdom come up, or?
Just the sense of letting go of the small stuff. So not sweating the small stuff came up. The taps changed a bit through that, which was really interesting. So the head tap turned into a shower, and the cold represented the stimulation when I needed to kind of up-regulate, and the warm was the down-regulation.
Beautiful. Have you done Master Coach?
No.
Oh, that is such beautiful unconscious competency from your body.
And the heart one turned into a double-sided tap. So basically, that was basically when I was giving out to others, it was obviously flowing, and it was flowing purple. And then when I was giving to myself, it would back channel the other way. So the tap to the reverse tap back into my heart.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And then the gut tap was still not as clear to me. So I feel like that's still hasn't morphed or changed, but it hasn't got the same level of clarity or description around it.
And maybe that's okay, because it's not you got a pretty good sense after all the work you've done over the years. You got a pretty good sense of who you are, and maybe it's a sign that the gut, this wasn't so much of a gut issue. And maybe not. Maybe there are some things, who knows, that might become clear as you use the others. It might be that you get more of a sense of what that gut one is. And maybe in different contexts, the gut one will show itself more.
Yeah. And also just that whole 36 hours of processing might bring some more clarity, right?
Yeah. So, check in with it this time tomorrow. Maybe just sit and do some balanced breathing, take that beautiful visual round again and check in with them and see if it has morphed or and who knows, it may or may not change, and the others might change over time. This might be what you needed right now. Maybe they will change.
Cool. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Any questions or observations, remembering that this was for, newer mBIT coaches that maybe haven't, and what a beautiful gift in terms of that being metaphorical and using a metaphor rather than it being very a head-based process. But yeah, anything that you want to comment back on? How was it for you, or what particularly helped for you?
I was so in the process. Actually, I want to watch it myself afterwards to actually fully appreciate it from that third person.
Yeah.
So I was fully immersed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a bit challenging to say. Other than that,
and you were beautifully immersed in your body. That was not a head-driven process by any stretch.
No, I know. It was interesting, wasn't it? Kind of, given that I feel like I've been prone to overthinking and worrying. It was actually a holiday for the head to get out of it. And that's what I love about this modality, right? I loved it when I did the training. It was just like, to detach from cognition. It's just so nice when you live in your head bit.
Yeah. And yet you've still left the head with a beautiful role. It's still got an important role, having brought that all together and then making the decision. So it's very much part of the process, but the decision is now shared and integrated through all of them.
Yeah. I will be interested to see what happens over the next few days. So I'm really curious, but I feel like, when we did the foundational sequence in terms of the last bit there, I really felt at peace. It was a lovely feeling. Yeah.
Beautiful. And feel free, let me know, and we could always do a bit of a check-in in a week as a recording that follows up from it on two fronts. One is it would be lovely for people to hear how it went as it integrates, and secondly, one of the things I'm really focusing on this year is the complexity and systemic nature of change. And that sometimes you do a beautiful change, but there may be a loose end that wasn't quite covered, or, like you say, maybe that gut brain, maybe that is your beautiful intuition saying, I think there's still a little bit more gut clarity that's required. So, we could always check in again next week and do a follow-up on that.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's touch base over email in terms of timings and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. Thank you so much. And a huge thank you from the community, because lots of people have been asking for, is there a session I can watch? And while I'm reluctant in one way to put a session up, because I don't want people thinking this is the way you do it, I do totally understand the desire to see different ways. And Sarah's also doing some. So we're going to, Sarah and I now run something called the mBIT Next Level Mentorship Program. One of the biggest blessings we have from that is that we are getting to watch other people coach. I think that's been the convincer for me, that to allow other people to see people to coach is a huge gift. So especially if you're a bit more of a kinesthetic learner, and learning by seeing others do is really powerful for me. So a huge thank you for being willing to come on as a client, knowing that it's being recorded to be shared. Huge thank you for that from me and the whole community.
No, my pleasure. Happy to
Lovely.
help.
All right.
All right. I'll see you soon anyway.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop the recording now.